I was here for 28 years and my final position was as chief engineer. The atmosphere was very good, really. I didn't appreciate it until after I had left in 1976 when the works closed. The atmosphere here was quite pleasant. You could get on with most people and everybody was there to help get production going. When I left and got another job, I was rather naive. I didn't realise that other firms existed quite differently from how Chance was, and it wasn't as friendly or as pleasant to work in other places as it was at Chance Brothers. I think about the pleasant times I had. We had some rough times as well. The chief executive, who was Ken Hedley, had ultimate faith in me. I don't know what I'd done to deserve it, but he had ultimate faith and he used to ask very difficult things and he was convinced we could do them, and strangely enough we did. Whether it was a pattern, a special pattern on rolls or anything like that, we used to make everything. And it used to give me great pride to think that we could do it. I had a workshop of 60 maintenance men, and they were fitters, there were electricians, there was machinists, all sorts. And these men, I'm amazed how they used to work. They worked quite hard when the need arose. And if the plant broke down and rolling stopped, then everybody was all hands to the wheel to get it going again. And that attitude presided in my department, which I was very, very proud of.
I was lucky. The department I'd got, the guys in it were nearly all ex-military people, worked together as a team and were really willing to impart their knowledge. So it was really good and a lot of fun as well, because they were all just as crazy as I was coming in. And like I said, it was one of the best places I've worked at. It was a really good start. Yeah. And I thank the guys a lot for what they did.
Yeah.
I came here to Chance Brothers in 1971, and I came basically to put roots down. I'd been in the design circuit for many, many years since leaving school and qualified. And my first job here was I was directed to the tubing division, and I'm told, the first person to be taken on following rationalisation in the early 70s, where basically the whole plant was split between tubing and flat glass. You're all aware of Frank Skinner, the comedian. Well, his mum used to work in this building. This was the 7-storey, owned by Chance proper. They bought it in the late 50s, early 60s, an American company, and concentrated on the production of slides, microscope slides. And I'm also told that in his student days he even did the odd shift here himself, Mr. Skinner. A lot of famous people have come through this network. We had one of our employees refereed a 1950s cup final. I would have to get my notes out to tell you his name, but he definitely did. That was another proud claim to fame.
I worked at Chance's about 50 years ago, where I was Miss Chance. The reason I became to enter into Miss Chance, that we had a memo sent around to every department saying that someone from that department had got to enter. So it was everybody, every department in Chance, and I was the chosen one for ours. And our department was where they used to make the pocket handkerchiefs, where you see them now. They're like handkerchiefs and they're called glass, and they're called handkerchief vases, simple as that. And so we entered there. I rushed off to have my hair done, similar to today, changed, and took part in Miss Chance. Didn't really expect to come anywhere, because I was one of the oldest there. I must have been about 30. I'd had 3 children by that time. And there was a lot of backbiting. One or two of the contestants said, I won because I had got more experience than they had. That I spoke better English than they did, which was their fault, not mine. So that's how I came to, because I came second in the Miss Pilkington one, but first in the Miss Chance one. And the money that they gave us for coming Miss Chance bought a set of tyres for our car. The trophy I was given, we had to give back at the end of the 12 months. It was on a black pedestal, and it was an oblong piece of glass made from a lighthouse, and it was beautiful. It was just plain, but the actual sight of it was just lovely. It really was. And then you had your name in a shield on the bottom, and my name would be there for my 12 months. But what happened to that, I'll never know. Never know. But I was sad to give that up, really. Really was, yeah.
I started work at Chance Brothers in 1957 as a chemistry laboratory assistant. The guy who was the foreman, as they called him, Joe Peakman, he was a national table tennis player. He played national table tennis. And at lunchtime he would perhaps give me a few lessons on playing table tennis in the canteen, because we had a table tennis table. We had another guy, Harry, who was I nearly said a rude word then, he was a bit of a grumpy old devil. But he was one of life's characters, and these people are around everywhere, aren't they? You get these sort of people everywhere. So when they had this siding, so to go across to the other side of the plant, you had to go under this siding, under a bridge, under a tunnel, I should say. And there was, I suppose, a story that it was haunted, because people have said that they were going under that tunnel at night when they were working nights. They were walking under there. They could hear somebody walking with them in clogs, because a lot of guys used to wear clogs because of the soles were thick, and then if there was hot glass or whatever, it wouldn't. And that was one of the stories that was haunted. And the other thing that always surprised me, what's surprised me since then, I was 17 when I started there. One of my jobs was to go from I've just described the school from where we worked, right to the other side of the plant, the whole site, into the wages office, to collect the wages for the labs, chemistry lab, physics lab, and these people working downstairs. So that was my job on a Friday, to go across and walk back across the whole plant with this tray full of people's wages. Yeah, today you just...
As I moved into the telex, my typing of orders and quotes and that became less and less. And in the end, I was just dealing with the telex and the letters for the salesman. We had a lady in the typing department that ended up being over the typing pool, and she only used those 2 fingers. And I have never seen anybody use 2 fingers and type as fast as she did. And you've got to bear in mind, she was using a manual machine, which took a lot more pressing to get the buttons to go down. And also, if you went too fast, the keys would come up, the spindles would come up, and they'd get the letters crossed, and then you'd have to stop and put them back down again. And of course, there was changing the typewriter ribbon, because you had a black ribbon or a red ribbon, or you had one that had got black and red, and then you switched a key on the typewriter so that you could use the red, as opposed to the black. It was a lovely time at Chance Brothers. I enjoyed working there, and I was sad to leave because there was a lot of camaraderie. We enjoyed ourselves, and there was no worrying about what your performance was, or whether you were going to lose your job, or whether it was just one year that you were going to be working for. There wasn't the stress there that there is today.
No, so I can still remember some of the guys I worked with, some of the things that we did, and like Saturday mornings in the lab was always a water fight with the physics lab, because you had a wash bottle, you had a plastic squashy bottle with a spout on, full of distilled water, because it was obviously for washing out the dishes that you've been using. So it was a case of down the corridor, spurted a bit of water at them, and then they'd chase you back down, and you only come home from work soaking wet. But and there were two. I mentioned Eddie Gowns, the gas man. He was a Salvation Army man. Lovely, lovely man. He really was a lovely man. And we had a guy who worked in the chemistry lab, was a Jehovah's Witness. His name was Peter Radford. Doesn't mean anything. Peter Radford in those days was a sprinter from Warsaw. It wasn't the Peter Radford, but he was, say, Jehovah's Witness. And it was interesting at lunchtime to go past the little gas room where Eddie worked, because they'd be having discussions on the Bible in this room, deciding whose version of the Bible was correct. They were all, I mean, they never fell out, they never had any, it was just you go past it and you could hear him saying, oh, this is what it means, and that's what. So there's things like that. And so the library where you could go and sit and, if you wanted to. We used to play football for chances. I managed to get into the second team, and the nice thing was every week you'd get a little thing through the post, an internal post, and you open it, you've been selected for the second team on Saturday, so you're playing so whatever. And you turned up at the ground, and if you were at home, your kit was laid out in the changing room. If you were away, it was all in a skip, a big wicker basket, which you took on the truck, and they took you out to play. Yeah, it was a nice experience, I suppose. Just sad that I didn't. I don't know whether sad or not, whether I didn't make the grade.
But yeah, it was quite strong. The social club was there, and one part that had finished, I think, when I started was I remember the guys referring to it, but we never attended one, was the laboratory social and the pyrometry piss-up, so you could tell the difference between the departments. Yeah. And there was again a lot of friendly interaction between the laboratory and the instrument department during work time, which I guess we can't get into trouble for it now.
No,
but I guess
yeah,
there was
you
all
may as
kinds
well.
of things. Yeah. Again, this was stories that were told to me, and it had just pretty well slowed down when I'd started, unfortunately. But the laboratory were balloon specialists, and they would launch out of the lab roof hydrogen-filled balloons. And apparently they dropped pamphlets over Albury one time. So the instrument department, not to be outdone, worked on rockets which were fired from the plant to try and intercept said balloons launched by the laboratory. And I do believe there's a couple of stories. Something came through the roof at the Jensen automobile factory. That was from the instrument department. And somebody else encountered one, and I believe if you look in the old Express and Star, there's a picture of somebody that ran into something on their front drive. It was tangled up in a tree, and it was one of the lab's balloons. But the really scary part was they'd taken the photograph, they'd brought the balloon inside the house.
Oh.
So I think that's when it all kind of finished quickly and everybody. Anyway, so if anybody's watching this and they're responsible for that, too bad, it's a great story.